When you come into a survey dashboard, you're immediately greeted with a bunch of different options. Above that are a bunch of different things. First, you have this little phone icon. Next to that is the different survey languages. From here, I can go to survey links. I now have this generate reports tab. I can also come in here and manage users. We're now looking at this filter timeline. We see the different filters here, but I also want to point out this edit filter button. Over on the side, if I select edit filters, I'm given the ability to filter on more than just time. I can filter on time. I can pick a particular date range. So if for instance, I want various quarters, I can do that. Pick a time frame to filter on from one or the other. But I can also say, I just want to see all responses from those that self-identified as white in the survey, or maybe those that were male, or maybe both, right? Or maybe I'm just looking for answers for those that are 50 plus, or those that were very comfortable participating in today's services. Whatever it may be, I can filter on. So let's show you how this is done. So if I come and I select white, I'm going to apply. I now get a new score that is this filtered data. I see that I have only 28 responses, and each of the questions updated with only those that self-identified with this demographic. Now, perhaps I want to do a bunch of these filters and compare them. I can come into edit filters, and I can come down, look at the filter that I'm interested in, and I can come down here to these saved filters and add a new saved filter. Looks like we've got a bunch of saved filters already. So for instance, I can see if I did on male, our scores are 4.3 compared to our current of white, which is 3.82. If I remove that, I go to 3.69, and I see our male one is still there. So I can see a comparison. Overall, this is where we're at here. For this group, we're here. I can add as many new filters as I want, give them names. I can make them personal, meaning that only I see them, or global, meaning everyone sees them. For each individual question, for instance, how would you rate your overall experience today, I can come in and hit this View Analytics button, which will bring up a prompt on the side. This panel on the side is going to give me a breakdown of this question. I can see the average rating. I can see if it's stable, right? Are we changing over time, or is this increasing or decreasing? I can see how it's doing versus the previous month, where it ranks in the percentile against my other questions, how many promoters, neutrals, or detractors. I can see the median, the mode, the spread, and our confidence interval. I can also see if it's right skewed or left skewed. I can see how many responses per day, whether our volume trend is increasing, and our rating distribution. I can also see our best period, right? So it looks like August 2024 was our best time, and our worst time. January 2026 was our worst. Also time patterns. Our best day was Tuesday. Our most challenging day was Friday. Our best hour is 6 a.m. Our most challenging hour is 3 p.m. And I can see trends for this question over time, and also what other questions may be related to it. It appears that the facilities meet my expectation question is most correlated to this question of our overall experience. It is a weak positive correlation, so it's not the strongest correlation. However, it does say that basically if this question increases and has better scores, then the question I'm currently on also has better scores. And so one way to drive our overall experience and make it better is potentially to improve our facilities. Conversely, right, the support helps me better manage life's challenges. That one seems the most disconnected to this, how would you rate your overall experience? Below it as well, I see some AI insights, where AI has gone through and looked at the data for this question and pulled out some insights that may be important for you to look at. Each of these questions will have that analysis that you can look at. Below, you'll see these other question types. These are the free text question responses that people will give. So for instance, what would you improve or suggest? I can come in and look at all those responses. This brings out this side panel where I'm able to see all of the different responses that people have said, right? So this question, what do you think? I think you could offer more programs. Okay, that sounds good. I think that would be a great thing to be able to do. From here, I can do a few things. I can look and see what type of, how we categorize this, what type of sentiment it gave. I can recategorize it, and maybe I say, hey, I don't agree that this was a suggestion, or that it's not spam, or that it was positive. Maybe I think it was very negative. I could then recategorize it and run it that way. Or I can come in and I can say, let's create a thread and talk about this. I think we should offer more programs. This allows staff conversations to start. If I hit this button, it's going to start a little conversation where staff are going to be able to start talking about this. Obviously, no one that's not on the dashboard, not staff, are going to be able to see this, but they can talk about how to actually fix this situation. I can also come in here and create an action. An action is going to create an action plan. An action plan is basically a project with a bunch of tasks that I can track and assign to people to see if these improvements actually happen, and be able to make sure that the improvements happen by adding some accountability to it. Inside of here, I can also look at a word cloud. Looks like people just want more attention and nothing. So that tends to be the largest things that appear here. Maybe not the absolute most useful at this point. And so what I'm going to do now is ask for an AI summary. This is going to generate a summary of all of the responses. And I'm going to be able to look through and see different patterns and trends and maybe find something I can work on at that point. It takes a little bit of time for the summary to create, but once it's created, you're then able to look through it and find the different issues that may be popping up. As we wait, if you're interested in how we use AI, we actually have an AI overview that you can find in the product documentation that'll explain how we use AI safely without exposing your organization or exposing the user or the client that's been giving feedback. Inside of here, we now see an executive summary. The survey reflects a mixed sentiment with notable desire for more programs and improved cleanliness. You get this breakdown of sentiment, the key themes, key insights, need for more programs, cleanliness concerns, and feedback implementation. Pulls out some notable quotes for you and even gives you some recommended actions. Now, these recommended actions are probably going to match some of these on the side. These are AI suggested actions that I can actually accept, and it will make it instantly into an action plan with tasks automatically built out for you. I can also up here just export all of this information. If I just want to get a CSV of all the comments anyone's ever made, I can export them and be able to use them that way. I can also filter by sentiment. Say I just want to see all the neutral ones or all the negative ones, or perhaps I want to do it by emotion and I just want to see any disgusted ones. That's a great. We don't have any disgusted ones. That's a good one. How about we look and see just all the happy responses? There you go. Nothing. It was great. Fantastic. That's a great type of feedback for us to be able to get. Okay. Each free text question will appear here. I don't even have to go back out. If I want to switch to another free text question, I can also toggle over to it and see more. This little fuzziness shows that there was a name put in here. That's your PII filtering in action. If I want to, I can come in and turn that off. Or if I go into recategorize, once I turn it off, it will show me the actual name of the person that entered it here. Use that sparingly and be careful with it, as you don't want to violate someone's anonymity. But if they put their name to something, perhaps they need to be contacted. All right, coming back to your dashboard, you now have advanced survey metrics that will appear here. That will be things, they're widgets you can turn on and off inside of editing survey. So if you don't want certain things, you can remove them. But from here, I can see my projected TBS, CStat, MPS, voice of the customer index, projected completion rate, my top emotion, how many connected kiosks, and how many responses days we've received responses in a row on here. A few things. You may be curious of how these are calculated. That makes sense. And you may wonder, okay, I have this projected TBS of 68. Is that good or bad? If you come in here and hover over this question mark, it'll explain what a TBS is. It's a total brand sentiment. It represents the overall sentiment of customers associated with your brand based off the survey data. A TBF of 60 or more indicates a positive sentiment, while scores below 40 suggest room for improvement. So 68 tends to be great. That's awesome. You can use these to track and see how we're doing as an organization and compare them to a more for-profit context. Now, most of you using the system will be a nonprofit. And so it makes some sense to be able to take these with a bit of a grain of salt. And so if you come over and look at, for instance, the NPS score, the NPS scores are already changed to show what nonprofit NPS scores traditionally look at. And so, for instance, a score above 30 is considered good, where in a traditional setting, a score above 40 is good. It'll explain more of that if you're interested by looking at and clicking on each of these question marks. Below, I'm able to see even more details about the survey. I, for instance, can see this trend over time. and see how we're doing over time. I can look at individual questions, like rate my experience today. How is that changing? Or does the support helps me better manage life's challenges? Does that change? Looks like we have a nice dip here. I can even compare them and look at how we're doing comparatively, our current scores versus previous scores. I can look at the heat map and see how I'm doing by quarter or by week. Looks like this week down here we had some real issues on the score. Same thing we saw in the other trends. Or I can just see a simple summary of them and see if I'm improving or decreasing here. This is the response frequency graph. I can see how many responses I'm getting per day. I can see a heat map by quarter and see when are most of my responses coming in, or just quick stats. How many responses, how many per month, what our peak month was, and the average per day. Below that, I see my sentiment and emotion graphs. This is my average sentiment. Sentiment is rated from negative to positive. And so I see, okay, pretty happy. I can also change the view of this to one that makes sense for me. Maybe I just want to see a score, 3.7. Maybe I want to see how many negative, neutral, or positives. Maybe I want to see an emoji that shows me how I'm doing. That happy face makes me happy. Or a thermometer gauge. Or, for instance, just a little pie chart type of thing that will show me how I'm doing. For my emotions, I see a breakdown of it. Looks like the vast majority are suggestion. I can also see it in pie chart form. I can see a breakdown where the size shows me how many I'm getting. Or I can see just a table here. We've seen the text responses, but they're repeated again here just in case. You can see them, and then a breakdown of each question in graphs. How many 5-star, how many 3, 2, 4, and so on. I can even come in here and change the view and see this data in very many different ways to be able to see and compare how we're doing for each individual question. Below that, I will have my staff conversations where I can see all the conversations we're having about this and any action plans that have been created on this survey. This is the survey dashboard. It's a lot to take in. If you have questions about it, one of the best ways to understand it is coming to this question mark and going to the full dashboard walkthrough. Inside of it, it will guide you through your whole dashboard and explain each piece of it in a way that hopefully makes sense to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Occasionally, you're going to have multiple surveys that you're going to want to combine the data together from. For instance, I may run a bunch of different surveys, but want to have one aggregate score of how my organization is doing overall. Or maybe I run an individual survey for each individual facility that I'm running, but those facilities are all doing the same services, and so I want to see how our housing program is doing overall. In order to do this, we use a concept that we call grouping, which sounds exactly like what it is. I can group surveys together and see a combination of their data. I'm going to show you how this is done inside of our Acme organization. I have an Acme organization group that when I click into it, it's going to give me a dashboard that looks very much like an individual survey dashboard. However, there's going to be some notable differences. I'm still going to see the same filtering tools, and I'm going to come look at all time. But you'll notice I have a lot more responses than I would if I was just in an individual survey. And it shows you how many surveys are in this group and also how many shared questions. So it's saying, hey, you're asking these same questions in 9 surveys. And it shows me out of how many there are. So I'm asking 9 out of 71 unique questions. So what we're trying to do here is give you an apples to apples comparison, only comparing those 9 shared questions, but still letting those other survey questions be able to run in those surveys without kind of messing up this aggregate data view. I can then look and see what my best and worst scoring surveys are inside of the group. I can see what the average score is for those shared questions. So looking at these shared questions here, I can see how clean was it was a shared question. And this is my score overall. Or how my visit was and my score. Or how my overall experience was and the score here. I can also see what surveys are asking each question using this question coverage matrix. I can see their scores, or if I just want to see if they're included, I can see like, oh, okay, this survey is asking this question, and looks like our how was your visit question is asked in these 5 surveys, the ones with the check marks. If I'm meaning to ask the same question in every survey, this is a good way of being able to see what may be missing and what may have some extra questions that maybe I don't want to run, or maybe I do. Below that, I get the cross-survey comparison, where I can see for this question, how was your visit? I can see how are each one scoring. Are they doing well? Are they not? And comparing it against each other. I then also get the same analytics that I get inside of a survey, where I can see trends, I can compare heat maps, I can see response frequency over time, all of that type of stuff. I can see each of the surveys inside of the group, whether they're active, retired, or what situation they're at. I can see if only active ones if I want, or only retired, or all. I can see any AI insights that it pulls out of here. For instance, it says, hey, our safety scores are varying widely, or our overall experience is overall highly rated, or there's high respect for staff. Good information to have. I can add filters, just like I have filters saved in my survey dashboard. I can save them for groups. I can see all of the free text responses that are popping up here for each of the surveys and be able to see them there. I can see a word cloud for all of the responses that are coming in free text-wise for our group, and the sentiment and emotion breakdown. This is a good way to be able to look at overall views of your information as an organization, or maybe individual programs. I can also from here view the links for the individual surveys. From here, I can actually use this QR code, which will take me to a page where people can select what survey they want to take from the group. If you, by chance, want to be able to share this QR code and let people pick which survey they're answering. I can also generate reports. Very much like the organization reports or a survey dashboard report, I can do a high-level executive summary of this group. I can have topics or themes. I can download all of the raw data. I can look for staff information. I can do all of the same things from this group level with the surveys that I've grouped. And I can manage users and access, or manage the group itself and say, hey, what surveys should be in here, what surveys should not be. Managing groups are easy, and it's actually very easy to be able to add a group. I can come in, create a new group name, add whatever surveys I want. So I'm going to say Acme, and it gives me a list of all the ones that I may want to add. And perhaps maybe I want this employee safety example and my employee template to be my 2. Employee group is going to be my name. I hit create group, and I've now grouped these 2 surveys together.